This press briefing is basically to share with you the decision that was taken a couple of weeks ago, or maybe days ago, with regards to Nawec's new tariff. As some of you might recall, for the past 8 years or more, Nawec has maintained the same tariff since 2015. And we are all aware of the realities of the current market prices, that things are not the same all over the world. Globally, we have seen unprecedented changes or increases in prices, in cost of materials, particularly in the case of Nawec, our major cost drivers, which is the fuel, lubricant, spare parts, and other materials. There has been unprecedented increase in the cost, especially in the last 2 years, which is as a result of the impact of COVID and also the recent Russia-Ukraine war, which has seen a huge jump in almost all our major cost drivers, particularly fuel. So we have been struggling, trying to manage the situation, but it's right now impossible. If we want to sustain our operations, we also have to face the reality. Just like all other countries in the world, the energy situation of the world today is no secret. We are in a global crisis when it comes to the energy sector. The fact is, cost of inputs have jumped significantly and are beyond control. These are factors that are beyond our control, especially we in the developing countries, especially in the Gambia. Most of our inputs are coming from outside, and we have seen immediately after the start of the Ukraine war, how oil prices have gone up. We have all seen how much we are paying at our various petrol stations in country, at the pump price. Before now, when the tariff was fixed in 2015, light fuel Nawec used to buy per liter almost about $36 to $40 per liter. We have seen now we are buying at pump price almost about $78 per liter. That's a huge jump. Equally, when the tariff was set in 2015, we used to buy heavy fuel per metric ton for about $444 per metric ton. This has jumped from $444 per metric ton to over $650 per metric ton, especially on average, especially after the start of the Ukraine war. We have also seen a huge jump in the cost of other materials, spare parts. And we have seen the inflationary pressure that all of us are also facing in terms of foreign exchange losses. We have seen that the dollar used to trade, when the price was being fixed for us, at about $47, $48 to a dollar. Today, we are buying the US dollar in the market on average about $62 is 90 bucks or $62 is 80 bucks. So on a monthly basis, Nawec is making huge losses in terms of foreign exchange. And this has really compounded our situation. And there is no way, if we are to sustain our operations and assure Gambians of a reliable and quality electricity supply going forward. So it is Nawec's, through Nawec's efforts and the efforts of government and our regulator, that we have made a determination through consultations, and this has been done with other stakeholders, just to make sure that the tariff that we are going to determine is a true reflection of the current situation of the market. And this decision has been taken, and we have made some slight increases in both water and electricity in terms of the tariff. So I will just go through as to what the increases are. Just for the purpose of this press briefing, we will share the document with you after the press briefing, which you can also publish. But just to give you details, 1 minute, let me just go. For the increase for electricity, for domestic consumers, these are household consumers, we have slightly increased from $10.14 per kilowatt to $13 85 bututs per kilowatt. From $10, 14 bututs to $13, 85 bututs. We will share the new tariff with you. And then for the commercial customers, we have increased from $10.90 bututs to $14.90 bututs. And then for hotels, industries, we have increased from $11.65 bututs to $15.90 bututs. For agricultural customers, we have increased from $10.14 bututs to $13.89 bututs. Area councils, we have increased from $10.90 bututs to $16.20 bututs. Central government from $10.90 bututs to $16.20 bututs. That is for the electricity tariff. For water, for domestic, we have an average tariff of about $18 per every 1,000 liters. And that is every cubic meter we have, we are charging on average 18. But the increase is from 13.5 on average to $18 for per every 1,000 liters of water. For commercial customers, the increase for water is from $10.90 bututs to $14.90 bututs per every cubic. But you know the difference between the commercial and domestic, because that is in range. For domestic, for example, I'll just go back to that just for clarity. That for water, from domestic, it is from 0 to 10 cubic. We are charging $5.50 bututs for every cubic liter. And from 11 cubic to 25 cubic, we are charging $12 per liter. And then from 26 and above up to 40 cubic, we are charging $16 per cubic liter. And then we are charging above 40 cubic, $20 per cubic meters. And that is every 1,000 liters. This is the charges for domestic consumers. For hotels, we were charging $24, 20 bututs. Now we are charging $28.50 bututs. And for hotels, we are charging $34 currently, and we are increasing it to $40.09 bututs. For agricultural customers, we are charging $12, and we are increasing it to $14.15 bututs. Area councils currently charging $16.79 per cubic liter to $19.79. And for central government, from $16.79 to $19.79 respectively as well. So this is the new tariff for water and electricity. We also have the new tariff for sewage, mainly for customers in Banjul and also the hotels. For domestic customers and local authorities, we are charging $5 per every 1,000 liters. And for hotels, we are charging $15. So these are the new tariffs that we have currently determined and will be effective from 10th of April this year. Give you the opportunity now, Per being the moderator, to at least allow a few questions, but that's where we are. This decision had to be taken because there is no way we can sustain our operations with the tariff that has been determined since 2015, and we have seen how all costs have gone up, you know, in all aspects. Raw material costs have significantly gone up, which has direct impact on our spare parts. Fuel price is the major cost driver, and we have seen that significant jump. So it is reasonable that we increase our tariffs so that at least we can continue to assure Gambians of a reliable electricity supply. It's better to pay for the cost to have reliable supply and have continuous supplies than to pay for something that eventually the utility will not be able to maintain the operations, and we go back to those dark days of blackouts, load shedding. That should be history in this country. And that's why countries like Senegal, Ghana, and most West African countries have equally increased their tariffs. I think we are currently the last, if I'm not mistaken, to have an increase in tariff, because that's the reality. We shouldn't be in any illusion. We are not alone in this. It's a global issue, Europeans are facing similar issues. Americans are facing similar issues. Cost of energy today is very, very, very high all over the world. And it's all as a result of the inputs that we use. Going forward, that's why we are making efforts to ensure that we also invest heavily on renewable energies. Because that's the only way we can sustain our operations. Heavy dependence on fossil fuel will not solve our problem. And that means we'll continue to struggle with high energy costs if we don't take those measures. And you might be aware, we have already started that process. Recently, the President, His Excellency Adam Barrow, have just laid the foundation stone for the first 23 megawatt grid-connected solar project in this country. And that's a game changer for our industry. And we are expecting that project to be commissioned by the end of the year. With those efforts, including our collaboration with the rest of West African countries, especially the WAP, where we intend to also implement another 50 megawatts solar project. Of course, this is going to be scalable up to about 150 megawatts in the Gambia. Those efforts are really at an advanced stage right now. We are currently reviewing the tender document so that we can have that also implemented, hopefully during the course of the year, and make it available in the next 1 year or two. And this will help significantly to able to reduce the cost of energy in our country. But by and large, other efforts are also in place. We are increasing access. We are currently working tirelessly to increase access in the country. Currently, our access level in the country is just a little above 45%. But we are working hard by 2025 to increase access to our service up to about 85%. But and all things being equal, it could even be universal access. So those efforts are in place. Over 700 communities are going to be electrified in the next 2 years. And we are also upgrading the transmission and distribution network. You have all seen what is happening with the 225 line. You have seen what is happening at the GAMBIAN substation. We are also building a national control center to modernize our infrastructure. Because for the first time, we'll be able to control remotely our operations. You have seen how we struggle when we have outages, when people have faults on the network, how our teams will struggle continuously to troubleshoot before they could address a particular problem. So, but with these investments that are going to make a big difference in terms of the modernization of our transmission and distribution network, I think we'll see a big difference in terms of the quality of service that we provide to our customers. We are also investing heavily to improve the quality of our voltage. In areas that are currently having some voltage issues, we have procured a number of secondary transformers that we are going to install to improve the quality of the voltage in those areas so that those customers also can continue to enjoy quality and reliable electricity supply. So these are all things that this utility needed to do, but in the absence of the right tariff, it is going to be impossible to do any investment because we cannot even maintain the operations, much more to talk about investment. So it's a good decision, and we thank the regulator and all stakeholders for the support that they are giving to the utility, and we are very grateful to the government of the Gambia for also approving the determination that was made by the regulator for the tariffs to go up slightly so that Nawec can sustain its operations. Once again, thank you very much for your time, and we are grateful.
Thank you, MD, for that justification. That's the reason why we are increasing. Of course, it's just a few dollars that we have increased, that's not much. Yes, friends from the media, if you have any question, but as I said when we started, it has to be based on the topic of discussion. So if you have any question that you want to ask, put your hand up, tell us your name and which media house you're coming from, and then ask a question. If you have any question, raise your hand up. Yes, please, sir.
Yeah, my name is Bakari Man, commonly called Big Sam, representing the network of community leaders in Gambia. MD, thank you so much for all those wonderful highlight that you highlight, and I think you work with the regulators and key partners. well, it's not bad, as we all know, like the facts you give on the world, globe at large. My question is, as Nawec is expanding to the rural Gambia and other sectors, as you highlighted that we are a developing country, when you kind of try to increase it, do you factor in some of the indigenous Gambian, especially the rural Gambia, as we all know? I mean, the urban is always, I mean, in terms of monetary, do you kind of factor some of these things that the rural Gambia or some out there would also be struggling with something that at least should be a little bit? Basically, that's my question.
It's a very good question, and you might know that I'm also from a rural background, and most of us, for that matter, are from the rural background, and we know generally in this country the income levels. You know, we probably working in government and the rest of the small businesses, we know our income levels are not that high, and we all have challenges. But this has been put, that has been considered somehow. But the reality is, we want this company to also be in a position to sustain its operations. We are making efforts for those communities that since independence, they have never got access to electricity. Since independence. Government and Nawec, together with the development partners, are working very hard to ensure that every corner in this country have access to electricity. And to do that, it requires resources. It requires resources. So where we are now, with the current tariff that we are operating with, it's just a matter of time for Nawec to call it a day. That we cannot anymore supply 1 kilowatt of electricity to anybody. Because every kilowatt that we supply today to any consumer, we are losing heavily. And that's why, with all those considerations, we said there must be a slight increase, just to make sure Nawec will be able to recover its cost. And in this particular determination, believe it or not, the revenue that's going to be available will not be adequate to even do any major investment. Because we have taken into consideration the income levels in the country, that it will be very tough for certain brackets, but the reality is people need to have electricity at whatever. So we understand there will be some challenges. Some people will find it difficult. Even without this increase, people are finding it difficult. And that's why even we go to the shop today, all of us are finding it difficult. What we used to buy a bag of sugar yesterday is not the same as today. So there's this macroeconomic issue that all of us are faced with, but the reality is we also have to make sure that we also help Nawec to sustain its operations. In the absence of this tariff increase, there is no way that Nawec can sustain its operation. That's the reality. It's a global issue, and we are not alone in this. We are seriously affected, and this should have come 2 years ago, not even today. It should have been 2 years ago, but nonetheless, better late than never. Indeed, your suggestion during the consultation at Pura, and also similar suggestions coming from the other stakeholders during that meeting, we are all taken on board by the regulator during the tariff determination. And this was submitted to government. We all know, even government is struggling seriously. That's the hard fact. Government wish they could subsidize and avoid tariff increase. But the reality is government has already incurred a lot of heavy losses in the past year and also this year by subsidizing the pump prices. We all know that the finance minister has already said this a number of times, the billions that government is subsidizing so that all of us can have cheaper pump price at the petrol stations. So with this request also coming from the regulator for another subsidy for the electricity, it was going to put the government under serious financial situation. And this has not been taken care of in the current 2023 budget as well. So that has made it a little bit difficult for government to honor that request that you have made. And therefore, some considerations have been made so that at least what we charge is not the full as such, but at least to make consideration that at least an average Gambian should be able to afford it. So what we have proposed to Pura and what the determination we got is different. And I think you were there when we said how much we wanted to charge. And the figures I am giving now are completely different. And it's because of those considerations by government. For the fact that government today, due to those other burdens they have taken in the, in the past, they could not also extend a similar one to us immediately. So, but what they have also done is to make sure what we propose, there is some consideration to make sure that it is at least reasonable, that most people should be able to afford it.
I have a follow-up question.
Yes.
My name is Landi Sise from Kerfat. At the beginning of your statement, you made mention of the hardship that the COVID-19 pandemic and then the Russia invasion of Ukraine, have caused, hardship in the country. Looking at the fact that, these things pose serious hardship to the world, including the Gambia. And then we've seen Gambia here, even certain compounds in Greater Banjul area, they don't have adequate water supply, because we have seen people complaining on social media that 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, they don't have water. Increasing the tariff, don't you think Nawec is also contributing to the hardship that Gambians are facing currently?
Okay. Thank you very much. I don't know how, I know you are very right that things are difficult for all of us. Tough for all of us. It's going to be tougher if Nawec collapses completely. That is going to make life much more difficult than the current situation, because there'll be no businesses will not be able to function normal. Our lives in our homes would be horrible, because if you don't have electricity, you don't have water supply, simply because Nawec could not sustain its operations, then your life would have been worse. We really understand things are tough for every one of us. That's the reality. But the fact of the matter is, we are in business. And the commodity that we are trading or providing is a commercial commodity. It is not a social commodity. So we have to pay for the cost of the service. It is expensive. These are factors beyond Nawec, factors beyond the Gambia government. It's a global issue. Fuel prices, we don't have any oil this thing in the country that we produce. Do we have? We don't. We buy everything from outside. If your oil prices jump from 444 per metric ton for you, and you are now buying at 650, and the tariff that was given to you then was saying that you should be able to buy your metric ton at 444. Today you are buying at 650. If you are a shopkeeper, for example, just a simple analogy. If you are a shopkeeper, you are buying a bag of sugar for $2,000 and somebody asks you to sell it at 1,500. How many days are you supposed to be in that shop? Maybe 2 days. Because you will not be able to pay your rent. Your business will collapse just like anything else. This is the situation we are also facing. Electricity is a commercial commodity. And the inputs that we have, the inputs are mainly fuel, lubricant, spare part. These are not things that we manufacture in the Gambia. These are not things that we produce in the Gambia. And the costs have increased significantly. Even before the Ukraine war, we have seen during COVID how even mere freight costs has gone up significantly. And all these costs are added to the cost of the materials that we buy. So obviously, our hands are also tied. We wish there is no tariff increment. I wish there is no tariff increment at all. We are also consumers. We have families that we are also taking care of. We have brothers that we are taking care of, sisters that we are also taking care of. We buy electricity for them as well. We wish there is no tariff increment. But is that the reality? Is that genuine? This thing? No, because you cannot continue to buy inputs at higher cost and you sell at costs that are below this thing. So it cannot continue. So we appreciate the fact that people will have some challenges. That is not our wish. We wish everybody have sufficient income, be able to afford. But unfortunately, that's the reality that we have to face. If we don't have this tariff increase, believe it or not, brother, Nawec will definitely be bankrupt. That's the hard fact.
Yes, Aisambaro. According to your statements, the reason for this increment is because of sustainability, how to sustain the company. I don't know whether you are considering the fact also whether you will reverse back the tariff to its normal price when the cost in the world market has reduced, because it's like there's a tendency in the Gambia when price goes up, they're always up, even whereas they're always up. It never comes down, even whereas in the world market it has reduced. So, are you considering to revise the tariff back to its current form?
In fact, that's how our model is set. You know, it should be a cost-reflective tariff. When tariffs go, cost goes up, then the tariff is automatically, determined based on that. If it goes down, it should be the reverse as well. And be rest assured that all the efforts that we are making now, as I've already mentioned this to you, even before a reduction in those international prices, if we have our solar projects online and we have seen differences in terms of cost, believe it or not, this will be reflected. So just to thank all of you, and we will share the details with you.